Hello YouTube. I wanted to share my model of morality. Like specifically, it's like a secularist model of morality, and if you wanna know the backstory a little bit, so basically, I started off with like being an atheist. Um, you know, like uh, they, there's some things that you believe as an atheist because of the stereotype of atheist not being able to uh, have any kind of model of morality, right? And then basically I realized that, well, that's not the case because most philosophers are actually moral realist, which by the way is another word for objective morality, right? Yet and then most philosophers are also atheist, right? And so I did you know came up with some. I did develop my own argument for moral realism. I think this argument really does good in the grand scheme of things. I think it's actually a better model than I'm not trying to be egoistic, but I'm pretty sure like this model is a good framework to work with, right? And so actually I would say any kind of model for any kind of secularist framework of anything is better than any kind of divine framework, right? um that's just the atheistic side of me, but um like we could get into it. We can get into my argument for moral realism. It's a very short framework. I'm trying to actually like publish this and make this a serious thing. But basically the idea is that well uh you know I actually believe that um morality is like best described as a emergent property for behaviors that we can explore using reasoning, right? And so the way I derive this is by like looking at like all the past examples. Like if we look at past examples, um there seems to be um a correlation between norms and civilization advances, right? There are many cases where things that were previously seen as acceptable and or unacceptable are now seen as bad and or good today as we've developed, right? And so to me, like this is a testament to the is not the is the art implies can principle, where we are justified in doing or not doing something relative to our abilities, right? And so you know and so basically now my hypothesis is that this will continue. Like there's some things that we see as acceptable now that we will see as bad in the future, um, and vice versa, right? And basically if we trace this rate of pattern to a maximally ideal point in the future, where we are so advanced as a civilization that we can do anything essentially, right? We like a type 5 civilization, right? We would be able to describe norms that would potentially follow using ideal world semantics, from standard deontic logic, to come to an objective conclusion about what we ought to do in all morally perfect worlds, right? Now this model, like I said, it was going to be short, but this is the metaethical part of the framework, right? I have a whole normative aspect of it. Like I have a whole normative aspect going over like why I think going over the normative part of this framework, right? And so uh so basically the idea is that well, we have a phenomenon. This phenomenon is uh it's basically that this correlation between norms and civilization advances. um then we want to trace this, we want to follow this phenomenon to a maximum ideal point, right? In which I uh you know use a type 5 civilization to best describe this point, right? So a type 5 civilization is basically a civilization where like we're essentially we can do anything. Like we can create universes, destroy universes, warp reality. We have a basic understanding of the universe and reality and whatnot. And this to me is the framework we can work on, where we can then describe the norms that would follow in all morally perfect worlds using ideal world semantics from standard deontic logic, right? And you know, so this is like the meta-ethical part again, like, but like the normative aspect now is actually more personal. So it's my personal reason, and I think that it's just reasonable and accurate. So the way I would look at norms in this framework is that like I would say that norms are like what is good is a reflection of a permissible action, right? So if you're gonna do like an action to someone without their permission, that is bad, right? You waiting waiting for their permission before you do the action would be good. And the way I got to this conclusion is because in ideal world semantics, if you don't know, it's from standard deontic logic again. That I think would be the most reasonable way to describe a world like that, where everyone can do anything that they want. So therefore, if anything happens to them, it's because they allow it. That's pretty much it, right? So that's the normative aspect of the argument. Now, like this isn't really like I said at the beginning, like this isn't. I actually take this framework seriously. Like, I wanted to become a model for secularist morality, and so like I actually did make I do like look for any kind of scientific predictions that can confirm this framework, right? And a couple that I came up with are like this would this framework actually predicts that like all areas of the world, that which includes cultures, religions, and whatnot, would converge on all would converge on the same morals and morality. It also predicts that like the closer the closer we get no actually yes, so yeah, the closer we get to the standard, the more advanced we get, and vice versa. So the more advanced we get, the closer we get to the standard. And another prediction that it makes is that like it predicts that we will, as a civilization, we would morally progress in a specific pattern of subtraction, not addition. And so like yeah, it is an unfalsified it is no it is a falsifiable framework, right? Because I actually take this very seriously. I want this to be a model of secularism morality. And yeah, that's pretty much it.